I spent what? Yeah, Warhammer 40K is expensive. War's wet. Heresy's bad, and I'm an idiot with disposable income. You've heard this before, I know. But I thought I'd give you a little sneak peek into my dark and twisted psyche. A year-long chronicle of one man's descent into financial folly, disguised, thinly, as a hobby. The ruinous powers didn't just ruin the Emperor's boyhood, they ruined my bank balance too. So, how much have I actually spent in the last 12 months building and painting 3,620 points of plastic soldiers? Keep watching, dickhead, because later in the video I'll show you just how financially retarded I've been, and with the lessons I've learned, I'll tell you how you can get into this hobby without needing to remortgage your house or sell your kidneys. In my last video I talked about the lore. Now I'm covering the real grimdark side of Warhammer 40k. Trying to explain to your girlfriend why you still haven't saved for a mortgage deposit. So it all started innocently enough for me. As I explained before, I went to Warhammer World in Nottingham with my Dungeons and Dragons group, just for a laugh really. We had a great day wandering around, looking at all the painted displays, and I swear to the God Emperor, I had zero intention of buying anything. I already had enough hobbies. Then I saw Commander Farsight, legendary Tau warrior, clad in his glorious anime mecha suit, wielding a big life-draining sword, perched dramatically upon a tactical rock, complete with a cherry blossom tree. それはとてもいいことです. And I thought to myself, just one little man-baby toy can't hurt. Can it? But then you need glue, clippers, a hobby knife, paints, brushes, a can of spray primer, and looking at the prices in the Games Workshop store, I made the at least somewhat financially sensible decision to order the supplies elsewhere. By the time I'd got my basic tools, I'd already spent about £100. And this is where the real trap is set, because even though I just spent more money than I should have, I wasn't actually playing Warhammer. I was assembling grey plastic bits, and in my mind I still had no intention of taking this hobby up in earnest, let alone playing the game. Too complicated, too much of a commitment. I was quite happy to collect a few cool looking models to paint, and I'd almost convinced myself, because when I looked at the rest of the Tau range, which Farsight belongs to, I was unimpressed. You see, I'm clearly a very boring man. I like the default faction. I like the big power-armoured boyos. And once I'd finished Farsight, the thought of 1,000 little plastic lads with big fuck-off pauldrons and laser swords got me feeling really quite titillated. Then, whilst browsing the website, I saw the biggest, bestest boy of them all, Lion L. Johnson. And if I'm buying him, surely he'd look better flanked by some inner circle companions. And if I'm getting companions, well, I might as well grab some Deathwing Knights too. And that's how they get you. They just look so goddamn cool when they're amassed together. That's how it all starts, with a plastic space marine and a voice in your head whispering, "You'll need more intercessors." Because they have something that will grab you. One way or another, the range is so massive, so absurdly varied that some little corner of the aesthetic or a scrap of lore will just wriggle its way under your skin. It's too late by that point. Before you know it, it's not even a hobby anymore. It's a pervasive brainworm that has access to your bank details. So as you'll probably know well, opening a Games Workshop modelling kit can be quite the endeavour. Opening up a box to be greeted by a grey latticework of sprues that look like a melted shopping trolley. Then of course, the instructions, which are at times a pathetic excuse for guidance. We don't build these models with ease, we earn them through suffering. And I'm reliably informed that as a Space Marine player, I don't even know how good I've got it. The other factions are apparently much worse, and some of those kits are so fiddly you'll need watchmaker's tools just to put them together. I guess the answer to that is just don't play Necrons.
Come on, you motherfucker! Ah, shit! God damn it! Same shit, different dog.
You start clipping, trimming, gluing, and if you're really lucky, this is the moment you'll enter a zen-like state. Building models can actually be really rewarding. You just follow some instructions and at the end, you've got a cool looking grey model. It's also the reason why so many people end up with enormous grey-tide armies, because there's an easy sense of achievement from assembly. Lots of visible progress, very little actual decision making required. But the modelling doesn't come without its downsides, because thanks to the realities of injection moulding, which is how the plastic kits are made, every part is covered in horrific mould lines that you'll have to scrape away with the side of a knife, unless of course you enjoy the pleated trousers look. And then you finally finish one. You hold the tiny bastard up to the light, and for the briefest of moments, it feels worth it. You've created something, a hero of the Imperium, ready to stand proud on your desk. Until you notice his arms are on backwards. And of course, the spending doesn't stop here, because now you're thinking, kit bashing seems fun. I should magnetize the weapons. Maybe get a hobby saw. Maybe some basing materials. And before you know it, you've spent as much money on basic tools and supplies as you have on the models themselves. The YouTube algorithm is basically a minor chaos deity, and it feeds on engagement. So offer it a like, subscribe, maybe pledge your soul to it whilst you're at it, and tell me in the comments, what's the most you've ever spent on a hobby? So, you've built your models, you've scraped 1,000 mould lines, you've decorated your bases. Now comes the bit that everyone secretly fears: painting. Because building's easy, you follow instructions and things mostly fit. Painting, well, that's where it gets tricky. It's time to start making decisions, bucko, and mistakes. Lots of mistakes. You can't paint without pain.
So what I'm going to do is just load up the brush with some water and start mixing it in. And when you do this, the thing to understand is that there's kind of a sweet spot that you need to get experience in so you understand what to get to.
Every tutorial online makes it look effortless. Just base coat, layer, highlight and shade, they say, as if those aren't four completely foreign concepts. You'll start out quite confident, brush in one hand, model in the other, full of artistic ambition, shaking your little wrists, straight up jorking it, and by it, let's just say, my paint tubs. After 10 minutes of lathering on your base coat, you're left with a drowned, detailless model, so you go to Reddit and you'll cry about it. And then you'll receive the chorus of "thin your paints, loser" from the Reddit mob. And of course, this is where the next wave of spending begins, because apparently, you can't just buy red paint. No. You need Mephiston red, Evil Sun scarlet, Wazdaka red, and about 3 shades of brown for the base. I did the maths. Per litre, Games Workshop paint costs £229, which means if I'm following the sacred words of our Lord and Saviour Duncan Rhodes and applying 2 thin coats, it would cost about £1,232 to paint my spare bedroom in Leadbelcher, if you were curious about that. And to be fair, the other manufacturers aren't that much better, but at least they have the courtesy of giving you useful bottles. The Citadel paint pots are criminal. They dry out faster than a salamander on Nocturne. After a few YouTube tutorials, you'll start buying better brushes, because some Swedish guy told you that you need one made from chinchilla hair to get smooth results. Then you realise you also need primer, varnish, palette paper, brush cleaner, texture paint, basing sand, grass tufts, and the secret sauce, talent in a bottle. Nuln oil, or really just any brownish black wash, they all work just fine, but none taste quite as nice as Nuln oil. Eventually you do start to improve, you discover techniques, tricks, maybe even a personal style. You paint one, then another, and before you know it, you've been hunched over your desk for 6 hours like a medieval scribe. Your back hurts, your eyes are bleeding, and you're whispering, just one more highlight. Fuck. But when you finish one, really finish one, it's magic. For a moment, you feel like the Emperor himself. You turn the mini under the light and you think, maybe I am a god amongst men. Then you take a photo with your phone and you realise you can't even colour by numbers because it looks like dog shit. Oh well, 9 more guys to paint, and these ones need yellow. And just like that, you're now financially and emotionally committed. You've become what you once feared the most, a man who swapped edging for edge highlighting, and who spent more hours hunched over his desk like a prawn than he has in his own bed. So, you've done it. You've built your army, you've painted your army, you've spent an unholy amount of money, you've also spent an unholy amount of time. And now it's time for the final step, actually playing the game. So this game kicked the shit out of me. I thought I was pretty familiar with board games, reigning Monopoly champion that I am, but 40k is, as my girlfriend describes it, sweaty fat men saying rules at each other. And I'm trying to think of an articulate counter-argument to that, but it really does kind of summarise what playing this game is like. To even start, you'll need a rulebook, your specific faction's codex, if Games Workshop has decided you deserve one yet, your data cards, if you're feeling fancy, some dice, no, scratch that, lots of dice, a tape measure, and a small fortune's worth of terrain, or a large fortune if you decide to pay the Games Workshop tax. And that's before you even factor in the data slate updates that drop every 3 months to remind you that the rules you just learned are now wrong. The core rules alone are an absolute monstrosity, and I've never even read them, so I'm not sure I was ever really qualified to make this video. But here we are. Anyway, this is where the most important variable for learning this game comes in. You need to know somebody who already knows the rules. Simply put, unless you've got the wherewithal to read all of this shite, then you're going to need your hands held. I recommend a visit to your friendly local gaming store if you're the only Warhammer loser that you know. Your first game will probably take about 6 hours, 2 of which will be spent trying to remember how movement works, 1 on stratagems and abilities, and at least 1 hour debating line of sight and what counts as cover. It's a complicated game. There's a lot to remember. And just when you think you've finally got the hang of it, finally feeling like an expert, Games Workshop will drop a new edition, as they are wont to do every 3 years, like clockwork. And then, yeah, congratulations! All your codexes are now relics, or at the very least outdated. And yes, you'll have to buy them all again, because G-Dubs loves to release rules in paper form that get made redundant within months of release. I don't know why. But despite all that, you'll love it. Because when it works, when the dice are rolling and your plastic soldiers are blasting each other to pieces, there's this strange, stupid joy that hits you. It's this primal dopamine rush of simulated violence, combined with the smug satisfaction of getting to say, actually, my power sword is damage 4, and it has devastating wounds, and I've just rolled 4 6s, so not only are you dead, they won't even be able to identify your remains. And the thing is, by this point, you've already sunk so much time and money into it that it doesn't really even matter who wins. You're just happy to be here, surrounded by your friends or some new friends that you've made, your models, and maybe, if you're really lucky, a nice cold beer. And as the game ends and you pack your models away, you'll look at your army and you'll think, yeah, that was fun. It was worth the toil. It was worth the strife. And then you go online and immediately start pricing up a second army. So, how much did I actually spend? Well, if you've been keeping track, you probably already know, but for those of you with dyspraxia, here's the breakdown. On models and minis, £758.50. On paints, brushes, basing materials and all that other shit, £447 and a penny. On gaming sundries like rules and dice, and bear in mind I haven't bought a single bit of terrain myself, I rely entirely on my friends for that, £55 and 44 pence. That brings us to a grand total of £1,260 and 95 pence, which is about $1,700 dues for the Americans out there, which is more than I pay for rent in a 2-up 2-down semi-detached house in England. But honestly, I was scared it'd be worse, like much, much worse. That said, could also be so much better. So, how can you avoid the pitfalls that have led me to financial ruin and get into this hobby for a fraction of the insane price that I've paid? Well, let me tell you how you can buy, build, paint, and game with a 2,000 point army of your choosing without remortgaging your house. It's very simple. Step 1. Have a plan. First of all, just don't play Warhammer. That alone will save you a lot of time, money, and emotional damage. So jot that down. But if you insist on going down this rabbit hole, know which models you think are cool ahead of time. Play around with army building apps like New Recruit to build lists that include the stuff that you actually like the look of. As the old adage goes, rules are temporary, but a cool model is forever. If possible, try playing a few games with someone else's army before you commit. You might realise you like painting a faction far more than you like playing it, and that's a very expensive mistake to make in reverse. Step 2. Box smarts. Find those models in discount boxes. Combat patrols, army sets, or just any other bundle box. Buy from third-party retailers if you can. Most offer up to 20% off Games Workshop's prices, and they're all brand spanking new still. Split boxes with your friends if you can. The starter box set, which this edition has Tyranids. Great value for money for that. Step 3. The paint trap. You are not Van Gogh. You do not need every single shade of green known to mankind. And yes, I'm mainly speaking to myself here. Any basic starter kit from Vallejo, Army Painter or Citadel, nasty. Ew, ew, ew. Or just any other manufacturer will do just fine until you've nailed a colour scheme you actually like. You can always expand later, but don't start your journey by speedrunning the Pantone catalogue. You also don't need sable brushes straight away. Just get some cheapo Amazon brushes to begin with. You'll produce just fine results until your talent improves to the point where you can somewhat justify a £25 brush. I'm not there yet. Step 4. Embrace the second-hand market. Check eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and even your local gaming stores, because used minis are often 40 or 50% cheaper, sometimes more, and most of the time you can just paint straight over the existing job with no problem. If you want to start fresh, maybe the previous owner went a little bit thick with the lead belcher, a bit of isopropyl alcohol, and a toothbrush will strip a model back to bare plastic with minimal elbow grease. Step 5. Print baby, print. If you have no intention of ever setting foot in a Games Workshop event, this one's a no-brainer. 3D printer, go brrrr. For the price of a couple of combat patrols, you can buy a resin printer and enough resin to print twice as many minis as I currently own. Just, don't post them on Instagram and tag Games Workshop, unless you want a cease and desist for Christmas. If you know someone that's willing to print for you, even better. Follow these steps and you'll save yourself hundreds of pounds. But more importantly, you'll still have enough money left to buy food, pay rent, and occasionally touch grass. In the meantime, the Emperor fucking hell. In the meantime, the Emperor demands a tithe. So subscribe to the channel, leave a like or dislike if you thought this was heretical, and comment below whether you think Warhammer 40K is more or less expensive than you expected. TTFN.